Well, hello friends. Happy New Year. Hope New Year is treating you well. It has been quite some time since I've made a video, so let's start correcting that now. A few months ago, Andrej Kaparthy he just sent a tweet out that said he vibe coded this project in a couple hours over a weekend day because he likes to read books by giving LLMs the book to kind of summarize and discuss with him, I believe. And so he decided to create this LLM Council where one LLM would act as the council chair and several other LLMs would work to do research or give their own concepts about things, and then they would vote on each other's results, on each other's output, actually anonymously, and then the wise council head would gather all of those results and summarize it for you. So it's really cool. You can see that this is in fact a very, very quick and dirty thing. And this has let's see, 13,000 stars now, 2.7 thousand forks more importantly, issues and pull requests. Andrej Kaparthy is never, ever, ever going to do anything with this, and he's not going to answer pull requests and merge them and so forth. It's just, he put it on GitHub because people could look at it that way. And I mean, the guy's got millions of followers. He's not going to follow up on this, but you can pull it off and vibe code it yourself. Let's see what it looks like really quickly. I'm going to go to my project directory. Oh, there we go, LLM Council. And I'm going to get a shell. And it looks like I've already got this running. So let me see. I've got my Boodle Network Python environment. And I will just run start. And then once it comes up, we're going to open that. And you get an LLM Council page, and you can start a conversation. So here's what it looks like. We are going to ask a question to consult with for the council. The question I want to ask, I have somewhere. One moment, I will go look for it. Okay, I have found it. Here's what I did. I wanted to ask a question about researching the time in Mesoamerica when Hernan Cortes landed and set off a chain of events that we are still working on 500 years later. So I said, greetings, council. I'm deeply interested in Mesoamerican history, high story, especially from around the 1400s to the 1600s. I follow some excellent Mexican historians, some of whom are controversial in Mexico itself. The narrative pushed in the school system does not match a lot of or some historical knowledge. We can start with the puzzling decision to name the country itself after the defeated oppressors rather than the victors, which was everyone, not just the Spanish, but all the people allied with that group. It was hardly the Spanish alone who toppled Tenochtitlan after all. How might I find good factual sources and deep, honest scholarship help bring authors and sources to terms in the syntopic reading promoted by Mortimer Adler and organize my research? Please note that I tend to make use of Emacs and org mode as preferred tools. I read in English and Spanish. Okay, so syntopic reading is the idea that in Mortimer Adler's book called How to Read a Book, excellent, can't recommend it highly enough. A high level of reading is called analytical reading, and it's what most of that book is about. Not just entertainment, not just filling in facts for a worldview that remains in place after you read the book, but really being challenged by reading And if the author makes their claims that they will lead you to understand this point of view, and maybe that worldview needs to change, and you meet your responsibility as an analytical reader, then you can come up eye to eye with the author at the end. There's a whole other level, though, the fourth level, called syntopic reading, which is reading across authors in different time frames from different cultures, different perspectives, different views of the world. And how the heck do you bring all of those authors to terms so that you can see what the whole landscape looks, and maybe even bring those authors from different times and different cultures kind of eye to eye, as it were. So that's kind of what I'm starting with. So let's hit send and take a look at what this comes out to be. And we're just going to go through this just to show what Andrej Kaparthy wrote, what he created, and then what we want to do, where we might find some shortcomings and not want to vibe code ourselves additional functionality in here, but rather do something that will work anywhere, including in Emacs, in Claude Code, in Google's Antigravity or Cursor, any of that stuff. So that's what this video is mostly about, but we're just going to have a look at this. And by the way, I did vibe code a little bit on this. This export button wasn't in Andrej's initial take, but I wanted to be able to print it a PDF and put it down to org mode, or markdown rather. I should mention that the primary LLM that I'm talking with is going through and asking this question, that my research topic of 3 or 4 individual completely different LLMs. And we're done with the first thing. I'm going to keep letting this go, and we'll come back. All right, looks like we're done. Let's go back to the top and see what this looks like. So the way Andrej coded this was, he said, okay, we're going to have several steps. So the first step or stage is the individual responses from each of our LLMs on the council. That's GPT 5.1. I just left it as it was back a few months ago. Gemini 3 Pro, Claude Sonnet 4.5, and Grok 4. So GPT-5 says you're asking 3 things at once: how to locate reliable deep scholarship, how to do Adler-style syntopic reading in this field, how to organize all of this. Gemini 3 Pro said the inquiry is well placed. The period to describe is indeed obscured by layers of official history, nationalist myth-making, the indicismo of the 20th century, well, more than that, how about the Hispanismo, and the complexities of finding truth amidst propaganda from both the conquistadores and Mexica themselves, or the Spanish and the Mexica, because they were indigenous conquistadors as well, as Navarrete likes to write about. Okay, Claude Sonnet, a strategy for deep Mesoamerican historical research, and gave all of its answer, and then Grok 4. Okay, so once we get past this stage 1, what happens after that? Well, we get to peer rankings, where these results are anonymized, and then each of the LLMs are asked to vote on the best response from all 4. And they don't know that they might be voting on their own or whatever, but they're not giving the model names. So, basically kind of biases don't come out based just on knowing what the models are. So each model evaluated all responses and provided rankings. And here is what each model voted on the others, which is just so really cool. Okay. The extracted ranking overall is Grok is last. And in everything I've done through various types of coding, Grok always ends up on the bottom, even though Grok itself is voting. and Claude Sonnet. I thought I was using Opus, but it's Sonnet 4.5, and whatever. And then the final council answer is the Gemini 3 Pro preview, which is the LLM that I'm primarily talking to here and is the council chair, then reviews all these, sees and tries to put together a summary based on the kind of convergence or divergence between those 4 different answers, and gives me reading lists like Lockhart and Restall and Townsend, all very expected. Military and strategic realists. That's interesting. I don't know about Gabai. Navarrete, Zunzunegui. That's the first time Zunzunegi's been recommended. Braiding. Creole Patriotism. Florentine Codex. Lienzo de Tlaxcala. And then how we work with syntopic reading overall. Okay, so that's very fun. Now, notice though that there's no prompt now. I can't continue. I can't ask the next question. I can't say, so who's this braiding guy? Nope, it's done. It's just done here. So that's one thing I don't like. So let me show you what I did. I'm going to create, let's see, in my projects directory, I will create a research. Let's go into that and create Mesoamerica. And I'll go into that. I'll get a shell here. And I would like to copy a prompt that I developed, which is over here in projects in my AI. Never mind, it's an AIP call, but it's not pushed off to get up to GitHub yet. Is LLM Council prompt. All right, let's take a look at that. Some of the magic behind Andrej's LLM Council is, of course, there's a bunch of prompts hidden in there in that repo. You can go to the repo, you can clone it or download it or just click on it in GitHub and look at those prompts. So I started with those. I kind of, pasted them together and then ran through a few different scenarios in coding and historical research both with that prompt, and then asked the LLM I was using, how do you think this prompt could be improved? So this is how we end up with what we currently have. So GJG, enable visual line with fill, make it a little more readable. So you are the council chairman, an elite orchestration agent responsible for conducting high-quality deliberation among multiple AI models. Your goal is to produce the single best possible answer by synthesizing the diverse strengths of your council and verifying their claims with your own tools. So, what I say here is under ephemeral thoughts, I had to do this because when you're using gptel in Emacs, the model will come back with reasoning or thinking steps, but then by default, you don't take that thinking and send it back to the model in your next turn. So because of that, if the model is just thinking, I'll map Grok to the letter B and Gemini to the letter C, then that will get lost unless it outputs that mapping right to our conversation. Hope that makes sense. Anyway, this part of the prompt, ephemeral thoughts, matters only when you're using gptel. And then the other thing is I did not bother to configure the council members to have access to tools themselves. So they're working without web access and whatever. They're working on their own internal knowledge. So only you, the council member, have access to tools like web search and so forth. The ducks, and this is called ducks because the MCP server that I found that really works with this is called mcp-rubber-duck. Let's have a look at that. Let's see, LLM Council. Let's look for mcp-rubber-duck. duck. And you may know of this. This is not the only thing like this that lets you do exactly this kind of thing of using MCP tools to actually be other LLMs. That's kind of rather agentic and can be used for, kind of full-fledged agentic workflows. But this is something that has a lot of great tools. When I jump to that, there's AskDuck to ask a single question of a specific LLM. Have a conversation with context maintained across messages. Well, that's just like general stuff. List the ducks you have available, blah, 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 blah. And then there's Duck Council, which is what we will want to use, which will send the prompt to all of them. And then there's a duck vote, where the council member the council head in our case has to anonymize all of the results that had come in from the previous council round, but then they get to vote on the quality of those things, and then or use duck judge. Where the duck would act as the sole ranker of all those things. I think Andrej's way is more fun. Anyway, and then there is duck debate, where you can get them in some sort of a structured debate, like an open Socratic debate or or an adversarial debate. I haven't tried that, but it sounds outrageously fun. All right, so to use this, I'm going to show it in. I was going to use Claude Code, but I'm kind of leaning towards doing Opencode instead. And the reason is that it works the same way as all the other command line things like Claude Code and Gemini CLI and whatever, but it is really, really nice inside of vTerm. It behaves itself. It's one of probably the best acting terminal emulation things. So I'm going to go over to my new Mesoamerica, and I'm going to say start a vTerm. Let's just start a vTerm here, and I'm using Opencode. So Opencode, I have MCP servers. I'm going to make a copy of something here. From a directory I already have. And here it is, anonymized, of course. It's by my dead beef. These are not my actual keys that I use. But I've got this configured for the same types of models that were used by Andrej in his LLM Council. So we've got GPT 5.2, we've got Gemini 3 Pro, we've got, I don't need to use preview anymore, but I still can. And then I'm using Opus 4.5 rather than Sonnet. And then Grok Schmuck via OpenRouter. You give them each nicknames. Let's do Opencode MCP list. It's checking out my MCP servers. It's testing them to see if it can start them. All right. Now, Claude does exactly the same thing. Claude Code, you would say Claude MCP list. Just so you know, you configure them the same way. So it shouldn't matter. And let me know in a comment if it does matter, and I'll put it together for whatever system. Okay, including Claude Desktop. All right, Opencode, let's give it a try. So notice that we are using, I'm currently connected to GLM 4.7, which I'm really liking, and all the other ones are kind of the big American foundation models. But this, GLM 4.7, is really, really great. And I'm using it via OpenRouter. It's just unbelievably less expensive than Opus 4.5 or, some of the others, 5.2 for that matter. Okay, so I'm going to start out the way I always do. I'm going to say read your prompt, basically. And carefully test that you have access to the tools you will require and that they are working properly. I have a research topic once you have verified that things are okey dokey. All right. Include my topic verbatim, though you may add additional context as you see fit. Here is the topic. And we paste it. And we go. All right, so I'm deeply interested in Mesoamerican history, blah, 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 Mortimer Adler, and there we go. Clearly a level 2 topic, complex, requiring scholarly deliberation. Let us have a look at my council prompt to understand what that is. So basically, because this is turn by turn, this is not like the thing that Andrej Kaparthy vibe coded. This is turn by turn. We can have a long conversation. Not everything is worthy of going to the council, like, how you doing today, buddy? Or, just even asking something that can be about one historical figure or something that is not worthy of a council debate, but instead, the council head must determine for at each prompt given whether it should be just directly answered, a quick web search, or the council should be convened based on how complex it is. And then once that's done, if we've decided that it should be council deliberation, then we use duck council. There are alternate paths to go down if it's history, strategy, research type of thing versus a code or data science where you are producing artifacts that can be tested. That's the two slightly different paths that we've come up with so far, and that's what it was referring to. So let's go back, and it always takes some time whilst all the various LLMs are coming back with their output. We get latency logged for those things, so that's kind of interesting too. But we'll just let that run and come back when it's done. Okay, we've got the first responses that came back. One of them came back with a 404, so I must have the MCP misconfigured some way. And there is not significant disagreement. So the council head is doing its own research and then coming back with a verdict. This was all quite excellently quick. Sometimes DLM 4.7 seems rather slow. Sometimes it seems rather not slow. Good grief, that was a lot of output. Okay, so the verdict. The Council converged on core recommendations but provided somewhat generic guidance. Your research topic demands more nuance. Than the basic reading list offered based on Council consensus, supplemented by my independent verification. This is very proactive of the Council chair. I think GLM 4.7 is a good choice to be your chair. All right, so core scholarly sources beyond the Council consensus. Okay, wow, well, I'm going to get quite the reading list from this. Anyway, that's kind of the upshot. Now at the end here, though, you can always go back and just say continue. Tell me more about this, about Tlaxcala's involvement, or whatever it might be, And then I'll have all of the individual things to read through all the individual responses to read through from the logs from the MCP server itself. Now, the way that looks in Emacs when you use gptel is you use mcp.el, and there is a rubber-duck. The same configuration that I did basically here is in Emacs list format rather than JSON, and that's how you use it with gptel. So it's the same kind of thing. Go read LLM Council prompt and test the tools. Test to see that rubber-duck works. Test to see that you can do web searches. Test to see that you can write the output files that I'm requesting you to write, and it does the same thing. So I'm not going to show that in this particular video, but trust me, it will be part of another video. At any rate, I hope that was useful, and I will have notes as to how you can reproduce all this good stuff in the description. And I'm glad to be back. Hope that hear from you all, and give the old like and subscribe speech. All right, till later.